and this is Out of Line. We are here live every Sunday morning at 8 on Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM at 1340 AM, flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights. We are coming to you from the Wisden in Las Vegas because for over 2 years now, the pandemic is still keeping us out of the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio. Joining me on the show is our social media director, Spencer "The Wiz" Ostrovsky.
Nobody beats the Wiz. Nobody beats the Wiz.
That's right. The Wiz has his own theme music and his own studio. All well-deserved. But real quick, also back in the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio producing today's show is Chris Magnum Chapman, who aside from producing a number of shows for Lotus Broadcasting, is the locker room reporter for the Vegas Golden Knights radio network. This show is also streaming on the LV Sports Network, and you can watch the show on Facebook Live and YouTube. The page is called Outta Line. That's Outtaline. You can follow the show on Instagram and Twitter as well at Outaline Fox LV. And since we are live, your calls and questions are welcome. The Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line is 702-876-1340.
Hi, this is Bubby, and it's time for What's on Tap.
It's on tap, brought to you by title sponsor Residential Bancorp. Whether purchasing a new home or refinancing the home you already own, Residential Bancorp is the company to turn to for all your home financing needs. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. Call 702-964-5720 to get information on all the home financing options available in the state of Nevada. On tap, from this point forward, every remaining game of the 2022 NHL season is a must-win for the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is starting tonight against the San Jose Sharks. Vegas Golden Knights play-by-play radio announcer Dan Duva will be joining the show to talk about all that. Also, the NFL Draft only days away from happening in Las Vegas for the first time ever, and we will be hearing from former NFL quarterback Jay Schroeder to help us break it down and to get his thoughts on one of his former teams' new names. You'll get my thoughts on that as well. We'll also dive into the first round of the NBA playoffs, and Tyson Fury wins and says he'll retire. Right. I believe you. We'll also have an update on the Las Vegas Aviators, who are currently in town for 7 more games through May 1st, and history was made again yesterday in professional sports, and I'm going to love talking about this. You'll hear it during Fact This today. That is What's on Tap. If you are looking to buy a home or to refinance the home you currently own, choose a company you can trust. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. Again, call 702-964-5720 for details on your home financing options. We're getting ready to go. I know Chris is back in the studio, getting Dan Duva on the line. Hopefully he is with us right now. But Spence, let's jump right into Nightcap.
Hockey players, as you know, are warriors. They don't give up. They come to play every game.
It's time for Nightcap, a cupful of the Vegas Golden Knights. From highlights to interviews to special events, the puck starts here.
Gains some speed. Shea Theodore into the zone, to the middle, to the net, and he scores! What a goal! Shea Theodore in overtime, and the Golden Knights with their biggest win of the season!
That, of course, part of the television broadcast on Wednesday night. Incredible game. A game that was without question a must-win, left with a little bit of controversy. We'll talk about that in a minute, as well as the controversy revolving around starting goaltender Robin Lehner. Joining us now on the show is play-by-play broadcasting announcer here on Fox Sports Radio for the Vegas Golden Knights, Dan Duva. Appreciate you taking the time this morning, Dan.
Good morning. Yes, that Dave Gosher guy, that sounded pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you what, this season, you can't say really a head scratcher because the Vegas Golden Knights have really been able to avoid, for the most part, the major injury bug until this year, and it really bit them, and it bites every professional sports franchise. Matter of fact, every collegiate sport. Over time, that's going to get you, and this year, not to make excuses, Dan, but no question, this is the year they really got bit by that bug.
Yeah, I remember when I was, 14 years old, and Chapman would appreciate this. The New York Jets had just come off their first playoff appearance, in like 20 years, it seemed like. And, Vinny Testaverde, the quarterback, and Bill Parcells, and Keyshawn Johnson, Curtis Martin, Wayne Corbett, Bill Lewis, Brian Cox, the whole rest of New York Jets. They got the AFC Championship game in 98, and you figured that the following year, 99, was going to be their year. And then Vinny Testaverde tears his knee up in the first game of the next season, and poof, the season was over right then and there. Hockey's different. The Knights have endured these injuries where guys have been, major guys have been out for significant pieces of time. They will eclipse 500 man games lost by the time the season ends. They're unofficially at 479 right now. And it's not just a number, it's who. It's Stone, it's Pacioretty, it's Martinez, most notably. And not to mention Jack Eichel. And so that kind of mathematical look at it tells you how crazy it is. No team has ever made the playoffs with that number of man games lost. So if they do get in, it would be something that had never been done before. Man games lost is not an official statistic. It's a little bit hard to quantify sometimes who's injured and who's scratched and so on and so on. But you get the idea. And it's amazing that they hung around as long as they did and had as much success as they did. And finally caught up to them shortly after the All-Star break, most notably their 5-game winless trip. But they've got a chance with 4 games to go.
It's crazy. They're right in it. And, Dan, like if I would have said, even a week ago when things were looking bleak, and maybe especially after the game against New Jersey, that they're going to have an opportunity to control their own destiny still this year, I think most people would have thought I was crazy, but they do. And all they have to do is win 4 straight games right now. And that would be 5 straight if you include the Washington game on Wednesday night. But it is doable. But it starts tonight. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Ben, San Jose, we talk about a team that would like nothing more to upset the Vegas Golden Knights and end their playoff hopes. It would be the team they're getting ready to come up against today, the final home game at T-Mobile. We'll talk about that a little bit. But I want to start out, Dan, Robin Lehner. I mean, it's been kind of a head scratcher. You hear one thing from basically Robin Lehner's camp saying that this is being shut down because of a lower body injury that everyone's assuming, a knee injury that needs to be taken care of and surgically repaired, probably a procedure he will get done in the offseason. But the Vegas Golden Knights are saying he's completely fine. As far as their staff, Kelly McCrimmon, Pete DeBoer, he's fine, and he just was a no-show at practice yesterday. What are you hearing, Dan, from the inside? What is going on with this situation?
I wish I had more to add to what you just said, but frankly I don't. But officially it was a maintenance day yesterday and the day before for Robin Lehner, and that the Golden Knights expect Robin to be available to dress for today's game. The language, I suppose, if you parse it, and who knows if trying to read between the lines is a worthy exercise or not. It could be a fool's errand and a waste of time. But when they say, be available, it doesn't sound like he's starting today. So, if he was available, you would think that he would be backing up Logan Thompson. If he's not, usually a head scratcher. It's unfortunate for everybody. You would certainly like to believe that if Robin could go, he would. But, Robin has overcome so many different kinds of challenges, physically and mentally and everything else. And remember, he left that 5-game trip because of an injury in Philadelphia. He left a recent trip because of a family health issue. The practice he left early because he got a shot off of his shoulder. There have been no shortage of things that have come up seemingly because of no fault to Robin. But it's evident that these things have sort of piled up in one way, shape, or form. And he hasn't played his best in recent games. The game in Vancouver and then the game the other day. Really the last couple of games where the Knights lose to New Jersey, but then, he starts the game against Washington and gets pulled. Not because, he gave up 5 goals on 5 shots or something. He had given up officially the 1 goal. It just didn't look great. And the team didn't look great in front of him. And, you can imagine the coaches and management would have a clearer idea, maybe not 100% clear idea of exactly what Robin is enduring, but they'd have a better idea than we would. And it seemed to me that's why Pete would make that change in the game with confluence of factors, not simply one factor, confluence of factors, it seems to me. But again, what are the factors from Robin's point of view? I don't know. But as much as you would like to see Robin fully healthy and fully prepared to play an NHL game and be the guy that the Knights acquired and signed to a 5-year contract with $5 million a year, bottom line is he is not where he was expected to be in this moment. Maybe he was at a point early last year. Maybe he will be at a point next year. But right now, in this moment, 4 games left, he's not someone that you can rely upon. And that's why the Knights have gone to Logan Thompson last game. Pete DeBoer said it's a Game 7 mentality, and they've got to make choices based on as if their backs are up against the wall, Game 7, even if it's not exactly how they drew it up. They have to go with the Game 7 mentality, and I think that as much as you would want to have Robin Leonard be available to it, because he has that kind of a resume and so on, he just might not be the choice right now, given all the things that he's enduring.
Yeah, very well said, Dan. And, Logan Thompson has been a godsend. I mean, the Knights have to thank their lucky stars that he has played as well as he has in the absence of Robin Leonard and Laurent Brossoit, who I'll ask you about in a minute. But, with Leonard, you have to understand this. And it really this part of the country is getting acclimated, especially Las Vegas, the community with hockey. And it is really tough when the face of your franchise, Marc-Andre Fleury, matter of fact, the face of the NHL for a couple of years, leaves. That is just some gigantic shoes to fill. And you see it at every level. When a superstar moves on, his time has come. And I don't think it was a bad move at the time to let Marc-Andre Fleury explore other opportunities, let him go after the way last season ended. And I don't think it was just for that reason. But I understood the move from a business standpoint. But most fans out here, as you know, were furious. And unless Leonard has an off-the-chart year and they win the Stanley Cup, he's going to get blamed for every mistake, and his mistakes have been magnified. He has let in some bad goals. The one goal against Washington, he made 12 saves and 13 shots, but the goal he let in looked really bad, especially after the performance of a couple of nights ago before that against the Oilers. Or I should say against Calgary. But, that's been the problem, is the inconsistency, be it injuries, be it also, the heckling that he has gotten, which I think is unfair. But again, that comes with replacing a legend. And Marc-Andre Fleury will probably be the face of the Vegas Golden Knights franchise for years. I would imagine once he retires, they'll erect a trophy, or I should say a statue of him outside of T-Mobile Arena. That's how much he has meant to that franchise and this city. So I understand it. And I thought, my God, can you imagine if somehow the first round matchup ended up the Wild against Las Vegas? That would be insane. But, again, that's what I think is the biggest issue based on, the perspective or the perception of Robin Leonard at this point. And it doesn't help when Pete DeBoer in his own right is kind of criticizing him. And you already know the guy has had some depression issues in his past. We know about those. They're well documented. It has been a rough go for Robin Leonard. And again, all we're doing right now is basically speculating, but the speculation would seem that Robin Leonard just doesn't want to come back and play for this team. He doesn't seem like he's welcome on this team, not only by the head coach, but by the fans, which is really, really discouraging, because we have seen at times Robin Leonard has elite ability at the goaltending in the National Hockey League. So that being said, we're going to see what happens. I don't think we'll see Robin Leonard in uniform. And if we don't, Dan, who backs up Logan Thompson today?
Well, I don't dismiss the possibility of Robin being the backup goaltender today. Remember that there are contractual obligations that both Robin and the Golden Knights will have to deal with. And if the Golden Knights are saying that they expect Robin to dress today, then and he doesn't show up, then they would have to suspend him, and that gets into a whole other issue. I do not feel that Robin is unwelcome on the team. Is there a group of fans who aren't happy with Robin? I'm sure there are, but I think that's a different thing. The perception of a portion of fans does not jive with, it does not align itself with the Golden Knights. So I would take issue with the point that you made there. Robin is absolutely welcome by the players, the coaches, etc. That doesn't necessarily mean he's the the right guy to start a game, but it doesn't mean he's not welcome. That's number one. Number two, like I said, if the Golden Knights say that they expect Robin to be available for the game today, and then he doesn't show up, then Robin would be in violation of his contract, unless the Golden Knights decide to allow him to step away from the team. That's the thing that happens at times. Obviously, they allowed him to leave the team during the trip in Calgary because of a family issue. If this is a medical situation, it would be deemed as such by a Golden Knights doctor or trainer. But I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen. So the point is that, unless the Golden Knights say that Robin doesn't need to dress today, then he should dress today. If for whatever reason he can't, I would assume Yuri Patera would be the backup. I don't know that for sure, but that's who it was last time Robin was unavailable. Laurent Brossoit remains on long-term injured reserve. I don't know how soon he may be back, but it seems to me that they haven't shut him down for the year, depending on a potential postseason run. I don't know if he'd be available here in the last week or not, but, Brossoit would be in the conversation, I think, at some point. But as of today, you would have to expect Thompson would start, Leonard would back up. Again, if Leonard, for whatever reason, cannot, dress, then I think it'd be Yuri Patera. But right now, I think that you would expect that Thompson starts and Leonard is the backup.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you misunderstood what I was saying. It's the perception. Talking to my friends and people that aren't in the media, that's their perception, is like, God, is he not wanted? And it's because, when you hear from his camp that there is an injury that needs attending to, and the Golden Knights say he's fine, that would tend you to believe that there's some friction there. But again, it's a perception. Not that I believe that. I think Leonard will be behind the bench also tonight. And, and again, the other thing is what one of my friends pointed out yesterday when he's saying I'm wrong, that they're not welcome. Why did Jonathan Marchessault bring up Marc-Andre Fleury? I think we all were a little bit surprised when he did that in the press conference after the last game, after their last loss.
Well, just to offer context there, the question that Jonathan was asked was about Logan Thompson's compete level. And he said, no one has the compete level of Marc-Andre Fleury, but Logan is up there. That's how he brought up Marc-Andre Fleury's name.
Oh, no, I understand. I still thought that was...
The listeners might not, so I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important. I agree with you 100%. Moving on, okay, they win that game against Washington. It was what a big win. Another overtime thriller and another big overtime goal by Shea Theodore, who has just come up time and time again, huge for this team, proving to be one of the best defensemen, two-way defensemen in the National Hockey League. Love seeing that. But that sets up 4 more games with Dallas getting another game, although they won. They've got 1 game in hand, 3 games left for them, 4 for the Knights. The Knights win out. They win these 4 games based on tiebreaker situation. Even if Dallas wins the other 2 games remaining, the Knights will get the nod in the 8th seed. What do you expect from this team going forward? And especially today, Dan, tonight, San Jose, a team they've beaten 11 times in a row. And I know tonight, this would be like game 7 for the San Jose Sharks against the Golden Knights to knock them out of the playoffs and get off the snide of losing 11 straight.
And Timo Meyer said last night after the Sharks won against Chicago that this is, quote, the biggest game of the year. Trouble is for the Sharks, they've only beaten the Golden Knights once in 22 regular season meetings. The Knights have a terrific record, 18-1-3 against the Sharks in 5 seasons of hockey, and this will be, of course, the 23rd meeting in regular season history. But that's history, not prophecy. The thing that you would look at today would be the Knights' forward combinations, that this is a group as healthy as it has been at any point this year. It's possible that William Carey comes back and Will's speed and strength, and also, offensively, really type of year with 18 points for Will. So he comes back. We don't know for sure, but we think that he'll be back, and Jake Lecision would come out. And Jake Lecision's been fine, but William Carey would be the preferred choice there. But just the way that the forward combinations were adjusted for last game, and then that's how they practiced yesterday. So that's Eichel between Janmark and Dadonov, Stevenson between Pacioretty and Stone, Carlson between Marchessault and Amadio, Rob between Carrier and Colasar. Obviously, Carrier did not play last game. Was no season there. But there was something to be said for that adjustment in the game. The way that they played in the third period not only was effective, but they looked like there was some synergy on the ice. Whereas, it just has not worked. We talked about when they put Marchessault with Eichel and Stone last couple of games. Looks good on paper, but it didn't look very good in real life. Jack Eichel has no points in his last 3 games. That's the first time since coming to Vegas that he's gone 3 games without any points. Prior to those 3 games, he had a 6-game scoring streak. So, in other words, sometimes it's just finding the right combination of players. The Knights don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to figure it out. So they pulled the chute on the combination they had previously. Looked like it worked against Washington in the third, and obviously overtime's a different animal with 3-on-3. But I think that you will be encouraged by the way that they played in the third period. And at some point, Mark Stone's going to break out. He has no points in 5 games since coming back. I mentioned Jack Eichel, no points in the last 3. Pacioretty, he did have an assist last game, but only 1 goal in the 6 games since he has been back from injury. And he did say after the New Jersey game that he found his game. Well, now it's a matter of getting in sync with some other guys there, and you would just imagine that at some point, some of these guys who've had a little bit of an offensive hiccup, that they're going to make their presence known. Maybe today is finally the day that Mark Stone breaks that skid. He is, the longest, streak of his Golden Knights career without a point were the final games of last season in the playoffs when clearly he was dealing with that back issue. So maybe he shakes off the rust after missing 26 and now at 5 games back. Maybe it's the day where the captain can mark the score sheet.
I think all the Golden Knights fans are hoping that Mark Stone, just an integral part of this team. And if he gets going right now, what a big help that would be to this team. And I've got about 6 or 7 of my friends texting me right now, listening to the show. And your perspective, if the Golden Knights do not run the table, do not make the postseason this year, again, this is pure speculation. What do you see happening? What changes can you foresee potentially being made? And again, I know it's pure speculation, but I want to answer my friends' questions.
If they don't run the table and they miss the playoffs?
Yes, correct.
Well, I have no idea. There would be a lot of considerations. You'd first look at, which contracts are expiring. First order of business for me would be signing Riley Smith to a contract extension. He's been unavailable, so he's been kind of out of sight here recently. But for me, not out of mind on the way that he has been a steady presence for this team. And I think that his absence over the last several weeks has probably been overlooked. As much as you see Mark Stone and Pacioretty and some of the other guys, Martinez, who are out, I think Riley Smith and his steadying presence and everything that he does, penalty kill, etc., I think that's a miss. So I would, first thing would be to sign Riley Smith to an extension. But beyond that, then it's going to be a matter of figuring out where to find enough cap space to make the healthy Golden Knights a team that can play without having to play, with someone on long-term injured reserve, which is the only way they've been able to field the lineup this year. That means, the roster will have to be different. Who has moved out? I don't know. They obviously tried to trade at the beginning to Dadonov, but here he is. He's been incredible. He's got 7 points in the last 6 games. But he's got another year on his contract. Do they think about moving him again? I don't know. But there will have to be some changes, of course, because they could not go into a regular season with, the salary that they do have. It would be over the limit. So, I don't know where they would look, but, Logan Thompson, just in case anybody was wondering, did sign a contract extension, and it's basically a minor league contract extension with the Golden Knights, and it was just prior to this run that he's had. He signed that extension on January 30th, a 3-year deal at $766,000 a year. So Logan Thompson is under contract with the Knights organization for 3 more years. So if really concerned about, having Logan in the mix. That doesn't seem to be a concern. You would think. I don't know, because you've got Leonard and Brossois under contract right now, but you would think that Logan Thompson would be in the mix for a job, not necessarily the number one job, maybe, no one knows, but you would think that he'd be in the mix for an NHL job next year. And like I said, he's under contract with the Golden Knights now for 3 years.
No, Logan Thompson has definitely proved that he's an NHL goaltender. Great story behind the guy. If you haven't checked it out, check out what Logan Thompson has done to make it to the NHL. Really, truly a great story. And the kid's done great. And I think the Golden Knights are very fortunate that they were able to utilize his services during the absence of Leonard and Brossois. But Dan, before I let you go, and again, we are talking to Dan Duva, play-by-play radio announcer for the Vegas Golden Knights. 500, as you mentioned, man games missed this season. Amazing. No team has ever made the playoffs. But last question again, and this is, I think, what everyone is alluding to, Pete DeBoer. You see this success that obviously that Gerard Gallant has had again, moving on to another team. And I think there's still, years of a bitter taste in some of the fans' mouths that, again, don't look at the business aspect of the NHL. But do you think Pete DeBoer is going to be held accountable for this season at all?
Well, when you say held accountable, that makes it sound like somebody wants him to be fired or something. And if that's the question, the answer is no. Pete DeBoer is not going to be fired because of the Knights missing the playoffs this year. At least I wouldn't fire him. They obviously moved on from Gerard Gallant in the middle of the season because things were not trending in the direction that they liked. Pete DeBoer has done an impressive job, in my opinion, putting this team in a position that it's in. And in fact, in a recent television segment, Gary Lawless does the Lawless and Order segment, kind of made a list of some of the end of year awards. Here are some guys who are not going to win the award, but ought to be in the conversation, kind of flying under the radar. And he brought up Pete DeBoer's name for the Jack Adams because, as you pointed out, as we've already discussed, if the Knights make the playoffs here, it's the first team with that many man games left to get in. So to kind of keep the group on the right track here and manage a number of superstars as well, that's not always an easy job. Are there things that maybe he would like to have done better? Sure, but that's every season and every team. When I say held accountable, I think that every member of any organization at the NHL level is held accountable because there's so much oversight. There is so much scrutiny. Pete DeBoer, scrutinizes the members of his staff, the leadership of the players, keep each other accountable and younger players accountable. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything that it needs to get changed. So, on the face of your question, is Pete DeBoer held accountable? I think that it is, but that doesn't mean that the people might assume that he gets fired. No, I do not. But I do not think that the team missing the playoffs this year is cause for Pete DeBoer's dismissal. No.
I would agree with you on that point as well. Once again, he is Dan Duva, radio play-by-play announcer for the Vegas Golden Knights radio network. Dan, really appreciate you joining us again this morning. The Knights play their final home game of the season tonight at T-Mobile against the San Jose Sharks, 7:00 face-off time. And hey, if you haven't seen a game this year, get out there and see if you can get tickets. What a huge game. Every game, the Final Four, are all the biggest game of the season for the Vegas Golden Knights right now, and they just need to hold home court against San Jose to get to move on to play Dallas this week. Again, Dan, thanks so much for joining the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Looking forward to the game tonight. Thanks a lot.
Once again, that is Dan Duva. And Spence, we have Jay Schroeder on. Let's bring him right on. What's up, Jay? Good morning, man. Can you hear me?
Hey,
I don't know
good
if Jay
morning.
knows we're on. There you are. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I hear you good.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
on.
We're doing an AT&T
Hey.
commercial right now.
Good. How are you, Brian?
Oh, so damn good I can hardly stand it, Jay. Sunday morning in Las Vegas, so many
TMZ,
things
yeah.
going on.
Hopefully it stays.
Vegas
It's been
Golden
going.
Knights game, huge game tonight, final home game of the regular season. NFL draft coming up on Thursday for the first time ever in Las Vegas. And you want to talk about a setup and a stage for the NFL draft. They've never seen anything like that. Jay Schroeder, former longtime quarterback in the National Football League, played for, at the time, the Raiders years ago, and also for the now Washington Commanders. And I want to start the conversation talking about that, Jay. I understood why the name had to change from the Redskins. I'm not going to get into that and go into the semantics of all that right now, even though I think that they're one of the most iconic franchises, not just in the NFL, but in all of sports in general. So changing their name, I think it hurt a lot of people only because that's just who that's who they were. That was their identity. But I really didn't mind the Washington football team. I actually thought it sounded kind of cool. I thought not really a rebellion to the fact they had to change their name, but it just sounded different and cool. The Commanders, I mean, we've got the USFL started right now. The Commanders sound like a USFL team. Sorry, but that's what they sound like to me.
Yeah, I agree. And, let's go all the way back. What people have to realize is, the whole name change, I thought was ridiculous because if people know the backstory, the Indian headdress logo that we wore on our helmets was actually designed by the grandson to honor his Indian chief grandfather. And, it wasn't offensive. In fact, they thought it was honoring. So the whole thing, all the way through. And now the fact that they're the Commanders, yes, it sounds like a USFL team.
Yeah, like I said, I can't wrap my arm around it. And for some reason, like at first I heard the Washington football team, I thought it was a little bit of a mockery, but then after a little bit, it's like, wow, that actually really somehow fits. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like it any more than the Cleveland Indians changing their name to the Guardians. Again, no offense, but that sounds like a WNBA team to me. So I'm not going to get into a whole great deal of this. I understand why this is happening in our culture and in our society right now. I just think these are team names. And basically, when you use a team name or a moniker, it's to show toughness. It's to show grit. You look for a name of something powerful. So to me, those are things that should be looked at as a powerful, strong thing as opposed to something negative, but somehow it's turned that way over time. We'll leave it right there. I had a feeling you'd agree with me, especially winning your one Super Bowl ring with the Washington Commanders. I'll say it correctly now. I always got to catch myself on that. Jay, and also you played for the Raiders. How cool is it, first of all,
Yeah.
we've talked about this before on the show, for Las Vegas to actually have an NFL franchise right now, which I just think we're seeing the success of that franchise with one of the most beautiful stadiums ever constructed in our country. Matter of fact, in the world, in Allegiant Stadium. But how cool is it to see that here now? We've seen them for a couple of years, obviously getting a lot better, and now to have the NFL draft right here in our backyard.
Well, it's really cool to have them here. And Vegas, I have said for a long time, Vegas is the greatest sports town in the country. It always has been. And for them to finally have professional teams in town just shows how good it is. And between the Knights, the success the Knights have had, the Raiders being here now, the Aces, baseball's coming. So, uh, and we're looking forward to great things from the Raiders. New coach, new excitement. One of the best receivers in the league. So their first and second round draft pick is a proven commodity. So I'm excited.
Jay, what do you see looking at this Raiders team? You saw them success in that season. Just what a season filled with turmoil, starting obviously with the firing of John Gruden after, amazing. They're investigating the Washington football team, and the guy that gets fired, and the only so far repercussion of that investigation is what they learned about John Gruden, which is kind of surprising. I'm still waiting to see what the final results of that are. But then, of course, with Henry Ruggs and the tragic incident with the car accident and that, and then somehow the Raiders find the wherewithal and the intestinal fortitude to move on, win the games they have to win, and get into the playoffs. And it's funny, they probably gave Cincinnati as good of a game as anyone, and Cincinnati went all the way to the Super Bowl. So more higher expectations. But watching this Raiders team, what did you feel? Obviously, Davante Adams, a huge pickup, but what did you feel is necessary for this team to take the next step and not just make it to the playoffs, but actually make a run in the playoffs?
Well, I think they did some great things. I think they used free agency to their advantage. In today's football, it's a passing league. So the good teams have either really good DBs, which is almost impossible to find. With the way the rules are, that's an impossible position to play. And the other aspect is you got to have a good pass rush. So they got Chandler Jones. I think they've increased their pass rush. I think they'll look to try to increase, the depth and the ability of their secondary. And I expect some really big things because offensively, they've got all kinds of talent now. I'm sure they'll look at some linemen to help protect Derek and all that. So I'm excited. They played really well. The progress of the young guys has been phenomenal. Josh Jacobs is going to be a stud for a long time because he can not only run the ball, but he can catch it. In today's game, you got to catch it coming out of the backfield.
The quarterback position, Derek Carr is an above average quarterback in the NFL. I've said that forever, but is Derek Carr a guy, in your opinion, and now don't be a homer here, that can lead this team to the promised land?
Question that Derek can lead them. What you have to understand the last few years, it's very difficult to win games in the NFL if you've got to score 35 points every game. It just is. It's difficult, and that's what he's been up against. He's played extremely well. He's gotten better and better. The talent around him has gotten better and better. Offensively, I like what they're doing. Defensively, I think they need to, improve a little bit. So it's exciting. Derek has played above average, and it's been fun to watch his development.
Oh, I think we lost Jay for a minute with the feed. We'll try to get him back up here in a second, but I know what he's saying with Derek Carr. Derek Carr, you look at a couple of years ago before he got hurt, the team won a lot of games. He got hurt right before the postseason, and they just weren't the same. They were not the same team having Derek Carr without him when they went into the postseason that year. Of course, this year, we got to see a team overachieve, in my opinion. And as Jay was alluding to, the biggest problem with the Raiders, and I know Spencer would attest to this as well as Chris back in studio, the biggest issue with the Raiders was their defense. Defensively, they have been lousy, and we're used to that in Las Vegas because we've watched UNLV have one of the worst defenses in the country at the collegiate level for years. But in all seriousness, now the Raiders look different. Max Crosby has developed into one of the elite edge rushers in the National Football League. Now they got, as Jay mentioned, a guy on the other side that can do the job as well. Perryman last year, what a tremendous pickup he was from Carolina. Came in at linebacker, became an all-pro, did a great job. They've shored up the secondary a bit, and this Raiders team defensively looks decent enough to be a playoff team. Now, offensively, you add a guy like Davante Adams, with the team they already have, Darren Waller, top 3 tight end in the National Football League, and Hunter Renfrow. You're going to say he's not the best slot receiver in the league. Well, if he's not, he's right there with the best of them. Another all-pro this year and really came to his own this year as a great player. I expect the Raiders to do well in the draft, considering, Spencer, where they're drafting. They're not drafting until the 86th pick overall. They gave away the first and second pick to the Packers. Anyone would take that all day long for a proven veteran, one of the best receivers in the game in Davante Adams. But what is this team going to look to? You heard what Jay said. I think with the third-round pick, the first thing they're going to look for is help on that offensive line, as he mentioned. I think you want to get Derek Carr more protection. Last year, their number 1 pick to this point didn't really pan out. They moved him around, but he was not the player that they expected him to be right off the bat. I'm looking for somebody, maybe like a guy like Cole Strange out of a small little school called Chattanooga, offensive guard. The guy can block out the sun, really, really good, and I think he'd be a great pick. And again, I'm just doing some projections. You're the draft guru, but I say he's about as good as it gets at guard, probably left, maybe at that pick.
Yeah, well, they're scouting just about every center that they can in the draft, and they may also trade up. It's another possibility, and it's really hard to predict the NFL draft because, again, when people start trading up, everybody's draft predictions just suddenly go out the window, and other times people don't pick what you think you're going to pick, even though it could be the most sure thing in the world. But the Raiders do have a few interesting things. Well, first of all, Gus Bradley's gone. That was the first thing they did, when the new coaching scheme came out. Which is a big problem, in my opinion, because Gus Bradley had that defense looking the best since Richard Seymour was on the Raiders. And if you guys don't know, Richard Seymour was just inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's been a very long time, since they've had a defense like that. Picked up the defensive coordinator from the Giants. I don't really have a strong opinion on the guy. But when you look at the cornerback position, that's a big worry. They lost Casey Hayward. Casey Hayward was the best cornerback the Raiders have had since Nnamdi Asomugha. And I was 5 years old, 6 years old when Nnamdi Asomugha was playing on the team. Now they got a guy in the trade, Kim Sue, I believe his name is, hopefully, in that trade with the Colts. But I don't know. I don't think the secondary looks good, and I don't think the linebacker position looks good either. I mean, Gus Bradley worked a lot of wonders, and there's a lot of holes. It's good to have a good defensive line that can definitely fill in some of those gaps. But overall, I don't know. I have a lot to see. And offensively, they don't have the guy to take someone over the top anymore. I'm glad Deshaun Jackson's not on the team anymore. I think that guy's a racist POS. But they don't have any. Henry Ruggs obviously is not on the team anymore. They have the guys for the intermittent spots, but they don't have anyone to stretch the field. Maybe that's something they try to address in the draft. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree. Spencer, just so you know, Jay's trying to get back on. I guess he can see us, but he can't hear us. So I don't know if you'll be able to help him out with that. We're working on that right now. But Jay's still there. And I wanted to talk to Jay about a charity golf outing that's coming up that we're going to be talking about here. And we're also going to give a couple of people one person an opportunity to win a twosome. You get to play with me and another member of the broadcast team. I don't know if that's really winning anything or not. I'm not going to even let Jay comment on that because I know what he's going to say. Jay's bringing a pastor out, Spencer, to the golf outing just to pray for the team that I get to play with. So to help them out. But we'll talk to him about that anymore. I don't know. Jay, are you able to hear us now? Well, he can hear us. They said, oh, no, he can't hear us. So I don't know if he's going to be able to join us. But again, just so you know, I want to tell you about this real quickly. It is the Liberty Project's golf outing. It is going to take place on June 10th. And it is going to be at the Revere Golf Club. Shotgun start at 7:00. You can get information more on the event. And Spencer, I don't know if you can put up, if you have that at all, you can put up maybe the little flyer we have for it. But there you go, right there. You can see a little bit more information on the golf outing. And again, we'll be giving away a twosome closer to the event itself. Jay, able to come on? I don't know if he's able to. We able to hear him, Spence? No. Spence is working on it. We're not able to hear Jay, unfortunately. I'll get Jay on again soon, though, and we'll get him on for sure before the golf outing. You'll get a chance to meet him out there. We'll see what the draft takes on Thursday at the Bellagio. If you haven't gotten down to the Strip and you're in Vegas or coming to visit Las Vegas, check this out at the Bellagio. The red carpet at the Bellagio Fountains, going to be the most unique and amazing draft in any sport ever, and it's going to take place right here in Vegas starting on Thursday afternoon. So you definitely want to check that out. Actually, I think Thursday morning. And we'll see who the Raiders take. I think don't be surprised if the Raiders go out and reach for a quarterback. I heard a guy they're really interested in, Spencer, at least backing up Carr right now, is, believe it or not, Carson Strong, the quarterback out of the University of Nevada, Reno. They think he's still going to be there in the 4th round. And if he is, I think the Raiders have the 126th overall pick. I think that's a good pick for him there.
Well, yeah, I mean, the backup quarterback position was shored up very well with Marcus Mariota, and clearly he's played well enough for teams to have that interest, to pick him up. He's on the Falcons now. And then we had Nathan Peterman, a slew of backup quarterbacks, just like every other team in the league does. It's going to be a big quarterback competition. They picked up somebody, I think, Garrett from the Cowboys and one other guy I can't think of. But if they get another rookie quarterback, they'll probably end up sticking with him because who really cares who packs up at the quarterback position?
It's true. We'll see who everyone gets. I'm still waiting to see who my Lions are going to pick at number 2. I'm praying somehow the Jaguars pass and take like Trayvon Walker. They're talking about taking him out of Georgia over Aiden Hutchinson, which I think would be a mistake, and I'm praying they get him. They're also talking about that offensive lineman, Iquanu, I think is his name, right? And they're talking about getting him as well out of North Carolina State. He could be the number 1 pick for the Jaguars to help protect, and they need to protect their quarterback. Trevor is running for his life in Jacksonville, and if you want to see this guy develop, they're going to need to pick him up. But we'll see. I'm praying the Lions get Hutchinson. If they don't get Hutchinson, I really don't care who the hell they get.
Well, Jay's back on. I don't know if you want to try to bring him on one last time.
Oh, yeah, Jay, come on. You said Jay's back. You can hear us now?
Hopefully.
All right, there we go. Jake, can you hear us? We're okay now?
I can hear you now. I'm good.
All right, real quick before we let you go again, Jay Schroeder, former quarterback of the National Football League. Today we were talking the draft. We were talking a little bit about the name of the Washington football team. Talk about the charity golf outing, the Liberty Projects.
Yeah, so we have a Liberty Projects here, 501c3. So we rescue wild Mustangs and we help our veterans with anything from, their expectations of what life is now after they're back home, all the way through getting them up with the VA and reassessing their evaluations. So it's very rewarding, and we use that with equine therapy with some of the most beautiful animals you'll ever see, these wild Mustangs that we get from BLM. So we're a 501c3 out here in Sandy Valley, so we're 45 minutes from downtown. We'll be at Revere Golf Club on June 10th, and we'd love to have everybody come out and help support what we do.
Best way to sign up, Jay. How do people get involved? And if they want to get a foursome out there, what do they do? Someone's going to get a chance to win an opportunity to play with a friend on the show. But for those people that don't win, how do they get in?
If you go to vetsandhorses.com, there's two websites that'll lead you to the Liberty Projects. Vetsandhorses.com is the easiest one to remember, and the libertyprojects.org. They'll both take you there. You'll see the golf tournament on there. If you click on the registration, you'll see all the information. Everybody come out. We're going to have a couple of wild Mustangs out there at the golf course. So you better behave. I'll stick you on one of those and see if you can ride it bareback there, buddy.
Well, maybe the guys that play with me, Jay, will ask you to put me on one before we start the tournament. That way I won't be able to play. Anyway, he is Jay Schroeder, a former quarterback in the NFL, joining us on the show again. Definitely check out the Liberty Projects golf outing. Go to the website, sign up.
I didn't hear all that, but yes, I understand that we're going to have some people play with you.
Hey, the one thing I can say is the last time I played with you and my buddy Mike Prinny, we won the thing. So I contributed one or two putts. I'm good for that. Anyways, he is Jay Schroeder. Listen, really appreciate Jay joining the show. NFL draft again this Thursday at the Bellagio Fountains. Jay, we'll have you on again soon. Appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, we did.
It's too bad we're having trouble with the audio. But again, we'll get Jay on here pretty soon. Thanks, Jay. And Spencer, go ahead and hit fact this, because this is something I've been waiting to talk about.
Fact this. If you don't like the facts, take your ass back to bed. Fact this.
It is a fact. In 2003, in his major league debut, Miguel Cabrera hit a walk-off home run and is one of only 4 players in Major League Baseball history to do that in his debut. This was the beginning of a prolific career that led to yesterday, where Cabrera became the 33rd player in MLB history to record 3,000 career hits. But there are many more plate accomplishments that have people asking, is Miguel Cabrera the greatest hitter of all time? Max Scherzer, former Detroit Tiger, says he is. This was Miguel after the game.
Right side, there it is. His 3,000th, the third Tiger to ever do it.
I mean, incredible. That was actually the hit itself that we just played for you. And it is so cool to see this guy do that. What a tremendous career he had. It was pretty cool. Matthew Stafford was there yesterday to witness history. Stafford joined the Lions in 2009, 1 year after Cabrera put on the Tigers uniform for the first time. So many accomplishments, Spencer, things you guys don't even know that I've learned over the past week. And former manager of the Detroit Tigers, Jim Leland, said that in batting practice one time, Miguel Cabrera hit 5 home runs in 5 pitches, Spencer. Now, that might not be the most amazing thing about the 5 home runs, but check this out. The first one was down the left field line. The second one was to left field. The third one was to left center. The fourth one was to right center. And the fifth one was down the right field line. He placed each one of them at batting practice, 5 pitches in a row. I mean, one of the greatest batting eyes ever. And, it is pretty amazing. Now he's reached the monumental milestone by becoming the 33rd player, as we said, in Major League Baseball history to reach 3,000 hits. He is the 7th player in history to reach 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. Check out the list. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Albert Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, Rafael Palmeiro, and Eddie Murray is who he joins. Out of all those guys, he hit 310. He has the highest career batting average of all of them on that list. 4 batting titles, including 3 in a row. He won the American League MVP in 2012 and 2013. In 2012, he became the first player since Carl Yastrzemski in 1967 to win the Triple Crown. Ty Cobb, Miguel Cabrera, and Juan Soto are the only players to bat cleanup in the World Series at the age of 20 or younger. I mean, there's way more I can talk about, but this guy is unbelievable. Mags, you haven't joined the show yet. I know you're not a Tiger fan, but how can you not be a Miguel Cabrera fan? And I'll ask you one question. Is he the greatest hitter of all time?
Well, I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, he's certainly in the discussion, right? And I don't know, did you mention that I think there's only 7 players who have 3,000 hits and 500 home runs?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I mentioned all 7 of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty incredible that we got to, the thing for me is witnessing a Triple Crown winner in my lifetime. I mean, I think for any sports fan, that's one of those things that you're kind of happy that you got to witness. And I remember he came really close to doing it a couple times, and then he finally broke through. I know Christian Yelich, I think, was pretty close a couple years ago of the Brewers. But yeah, Miguel Cabrera is certainly, I would say he's often overlooked by a lot of big baseball fans when it comes to putting him in the stratosphere that he belongs in. Maybe because he's played for the Tigers for so long and they haven't been great, and before he was with the Marlins and they weren't exactly great. But he's certainly one of the all-timers. Just a fantastic player, and it looked like he had a good time yesterday when he did it. So I saw a couple players on the Rockies come over and give him hugs and high fives, and so it's a pretty remarkable career. And I'm glad I was alive during his career and got to witness him. And he was one of those guys that when we look back 10, 15 years from now, we're going to say, you know what? I don't know if we really gave him all the credit that he deserved, because he's clearly one of the very best baseball players ever, Brian.
Yeah, he is, Chris. And as you mentioned, those 7 players with 500 home runs and 3,000 hits, out of the 7 of them, again, he has the highest batting average at 310. That's why I say, is he the greatest hitter of all time? If he's not, he is definitely in that discussion and should be from now until eternity. I mean, it is really incredible what this guy has done. And again, one of the greatest pitchers of our day today, Max Scherzer, who played with Miguel, says he is the greatest hitter he's ever seen. So a lot of compliments, a lot of accolades, all well-deserved. Miguel Cabrera. Don't have much time, so I'll just close and we'll real quickly as far as the NBA playoffs goes. Some great playoffs. Love that series between the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. We are seeing how valuable of a player Karl Anthony Towns is. The cat is ridiculous. That Minnesota team is gritty. They're tough. They're not going to beat Memphis in a 7-game series. I'll tell you that right now, but it could easily come down to game 7 in Memphis, because that's how good the Timberwolves play. And the cool thing is, even though they seem to let Memphis back in, they should have won game 3. Maybe they let Memphis back in.
Maybe they blew 2 26-point leads.
They did. But that's the point, is Minnesota blew the lead again yesterday, but then came back, but still had the wherewithal to fight it off and win the basketball game. I love that series. Today, the Heat and the Hawks will go at it again at 4. The Bucks and the Bulls, I don't know what happened to the Bulls. They played so good in the first 2 games. Last game in Chicago, it's like they didn't even show up for the game. They're going to have to play a lot better than that to compete with the current and reigning world champions. And of course, Golden State is playing the Nuggets today as well as also the Suns and the Pelicans, which is more of an intriguing series than I thought. And the Pelicans got to win, man, which is really big considering the Suns' best team entire. But Devin Booker gone from the Suns is a huge loss and probably really diminishes their chances to win it. Listen, we're out of time. Tyson Fury, if you didn't see it, TKO win over Dylan White, says he's going to retire. Don't buy it. Watch him eventually. He's the only guy, if he does retire, Rocky Marciano, the only heavyweight ever besides Tyson Fury that would retire undefeated, but he's 31 years old. I do not see the guy retiring. Watch him to fight, which wouldn't surprise me at all if he fights Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight champion of the UFC. Somehow those two are going to get together and have some kind of major match. I just feel it. He brought him in the ring last night. Aviators wrap up their series against El Paso. They've got Tacoma coming to town for 6. Check them out at the ballpark. I'm Brian Feldman. Want to thank Dan Duva, Jay Schroeder, Spencer the Wiz Ostrovsky, and of course Chris Magnum Chapman back in the Fox Sports studio. Appreciate you all. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.